All right, we've got a big 49ers afternoon update here on the second day of the legal tampering period. Stuff starting to speed up again. Went and got another burrito. Yesterday, I got a burrito for lunch, and that's when everything started happening. Javon Hargrave, Jimmy Garoppolo, Mike McGlinchey, etc. So today started out a little bit slower as well, although we had the restructure news for Charvarius Ward when we woke up. But it's like, okay, let's speed things up. I'm going to go down to Victor's Tacos, get a burrito. And of course, while I'm sitting there, the 49ers re signed Jake Brendel. That's the first piece of news today. Jake Brendel already updated you on this, but we have a few more details. It's 4 years, $20 million for Jake Brendel. Full contract details are not yet out, but I'm assuming that the 49ers have backloaded this because they're right up against the cap again. They freed up $10 million with the Charvarius Ward restructure, but the Sam Darnold contract info came in. That's a $3.9 million cap hit. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And obviously, this Jake Brendel info came in. And based on my calculations, which I'll show here in just a little bit, the 49ers are right up against the cap again. So there still is much more business to accomplish. I don't know how much of it they're going to try to get done through free agency. But if the 49ers do make a bigger ticket signing, I think they're going to have to run at least one more restructure or cost-saving maneuver. New league year starts on Wednesday. That's tomorrow. So the 49ers need to make sure that they're cap compliant by then. But I wrote about Brendel in this piece on The Athletic. I'm going to copy and paste this, put it in the chat section for you. Jake Brendel, I mean, what a great example. Good, story about somebody who's overcome adversity, who started as an undrafted free agent in 2016. Chris Foerster, 49ers offensive line coach, was Brendel's position coach in Miami. Brendel didn't get a chance to start until 2022. Now, for everybody saying that the 49ers won't be able to improve along the O-line now that they've lost Mike McGlinchey or, aren't necessarily signing some kind of big-name veteran at some of these positions, just look at the story of Jake Brendel. Everybody was saying that the 49ers were screwed without Alex Mack after that retirement at center last year. But Brendel developed and morphed into the number 3 pass blocking center in the NFL. We all know that he's a great run blocker because he was exceptionally athletic his whole career. His spider chart, his testing coming out of UCLA back in 2016 was something else. So Brendel is a good pass blocker, good run blocker. You can say that he's a top 10 center, and the 49ers paying him $5 million per year. And I think they're going to, again, backload that contract to have it more affordable here for this 2023 season. I think that's a good re-signing. In fact, we've heard that Jake Brendel actually took less money from the 49ers than the Jets offered him to stay with the 49ers, where Chris Foerster, his original NFL O-line coach, is. So good relationships for the 49ers all around, pay off here by retaining Jake Brendel. It was, I think, extremely important that they maintained continuity at the center position. Shortly after Jake Brendel re-signed, 49ers dealt some bad news. Emmanuel Moseley is leaving. Emmanuel Moseley has signed with the Detroit Lions. So the 49ers have lost their 2022 season opening starting cornerback opposite of Charvarius Ward. Now, this wasn't unexpected, but I think the 49ers hoped that because of Emmanuel Moseley's ACL tear, they'd be able to get him back at somewhat of a discount. But they couldn't get him back at a discount because the Lions signed him for $6 million a year, which is a significant chunk of change. I'd always predicted that the 49ers would bring back Emmanuel Moseley if they could get him on a veteran flyer, like an injury flyer, something like Jason Verrett, close to maybe not the league minimum, but close to it. $6 million, that's a good $5 million more than the league minimum. So they weren't able to get Emmanuel Moseley in at their price. As I mentioned, the 49ers right up against the cap right now. They weren't going to do a restructure to bring back a guy that had just torn his ACL. Agree with it or not, more money than the 49ers were willing to pay to Emmanuel Moseley. If you want to take a look at the 49ers cap situation, this might, help you conceptualize what's going on here. As you could see, $0.59 million. It's only $590,000 of space, I estimate, for the 49ers. We're still waiting for Jake Brendel's exact cap hit, and there still is more work to be done. I do think the 49ers need to still add to the secondary. If they had gotten Moseley back and he was ready for week 1, maybe you move Diamador Lenore into nickelback. I don't know if you can do that now. I think what we learned at the Combine when John Lynch spoke was that the 49ers are gung-ho on Charvarius Ward and Diamador Lenore, who really improved over 2022 as they're starting outside cornerbacks. but we're not sure what they're going to do at that slot cornerback spot, right? They were talking to Trey Herndon earlier this week. I thought that he might be a candidate for that. In-house, you've got Samuel Womack, the second-year player out of Toledo, who was a good special teams contributor last season. It's a situation where the 49ers also have the draft coming up with those 11 picks at the end of April. So we can't look at free agency by itself. We have to look at the offseason plan in totality. And after losing Jimmy Ward, he's going to the Texans. And after losing Emmanuel Moseley, he's going to the Detroit Lions. The 49ers still have some work to do in that secondary. And we have Sam Darnold's contract. Now, this is worth $4.5 million. I was on a little bit earlier talking about that. The cap hit is $3.5 million. You could see it with your own eyes here, or $3.9 million. Sorry, $3.5 million guaranteed for Sam Darnold up in the top left. $3.9 million cap hit means the 49ers QB room, grand total of a $14.1 million cap hit as we speak. They're probably going to tack on a rookie into that room. It's going to make it cost exactly $15 million for 4 quarterbacks, which is a really, really competitive price. But the thing that really sticks out to me, I took a look at Sam Darnold's actual contract filing online. $7 million in playtime, playoff, passer rating, and win incentives. So this deal, which is worth $4.5 million officially for Darnold, can be worth up to $11.5 million if the incentives are maxed out. I don't know this, for a fact. I don't know what the conversation went like, but I do know how the 49ers operate. I do know how competitors operate, and I do know the situation. And to me, it seems really clear that the 49ers told Sam Darnold, you could come in and compete for the quarterback job. I don't think they're going to bring anybody in and say, hey, do you want to be our third string quarterback, QB3? I don't think that's how it worked. And when you look at Darnold's deal, you don't sign a deal with $7 million of incentives that include playoff incentives and win incentives, and unless you think there's a legitimate chance that you're going to have a shot to play, especially on the first day of free agency. That's when Darnold signed his deal. He didn't hold out for anything better. He signed with the 49ers. It's obvious he likes what the organization is bringing to the table as far as an opportunity for him to accentuate and to really display his skill set, and he believes that those incentives are reachable. Now, remember, a lot of people talk about sunk cost, right? Money that or capital that you've already spent. And that's a big fallacy. It's called sunk cost fallacy to say, oh, we've already spent so many draft picks or so much, in terms of resources on a guy, we have to play him. I think a lot of the Trey Lance discourse is dominated by that. Well, the 49ers spent so much, we have to play him. Well, Sam Darnold, even though the 49ers didn't spend so much on him, just like Trey Lance, he's a number 3 overall pick in the draft. So, I think if you look at this in fairness, if you look at this just based on the talent and based on, a situation where all these guys are starting on equal ground, Sam Darnold's going to have as much of a chance as Trey Lance to prove himself to the 49ers coaching staff this year. Lance has hardly played in the NFL. Darnold has 55 starts, both number 3 overall picks. Sunk cost fallacy to just give a nod to Trey Lance and say that Darnold is going to be hanging around picking his nose all day. I think that Darnold's going to have a legitimate shot in a 49ers quarterback room that is highlighted by its sheer numbers, right? Last year, they had option power in numbers. They're building option power in numbers again. They suffered complete quarterback injury catastrophe in the NFC Championship game at Philadelphia. So it's not surprising to me, with Brock Purdy recovering from that elbow surgery last Friday, that the 49ers, on top of Trey Lance, have added Sam Darnold, another former number 3 overall pick. And it won't be surprising to me if and when they draft a QB in April or early May, if the draft stretches that long, to make it 4 quarterbacks in the room. Jake Haener, Fresno State, Stetson Bennett, the 4th, Georgia. I mean, it's all possible, right, for the 49ers moving forward into this draft with those mid-round picks. So those incentives are really interesting, though. Those incentives for Sam Darnold tell us that he's here to compete, and the 49ers, that really vibes with their culture. They want to have a competition. They want to have options, especially at the most important position, given the catastrophe in Philadelphia to end the 2022 season. So that's been your 49ers afternoon update. Emmanuel Moseley's off to Detroit. 49ers still looking for some cornerback help. Jake Brendel is back at the center position. 49ers up against the cap, but they still need some more O-line help. We'll see if they re-sign Daniel Brunskill or if that waits until the third wave of free agency. And of course, Sam Darnold filling out that quarterback room for the 49ers. And the contract is really, really interesting. Only a $3.9 million cap hit to save the 49ers now, but $7 million, up to $7 million in incentives. And the fact that Sam Darnold signed on so quickly with the 49ers tells us that, this is a low downside, high upside move. And that upside invites a lot of tantalizing storylines to the 49ers quarterback position. We can sit back and say we don't know, and neither do the 49ers. But when you don't know, the smart, prudent play, the business play is to load yourself up with potentially positive options. Brock Purdy is obviously a potentially positive option, but the UCL has to recover. The rehab has to go well. Trey Lance is obviously a potentially positive option, but he still has a lot to prove after a smattering of injuries over his first 2 years in the league. And I think that Sam Darnold, coming off his best football in his career, 6 games with Carolina last year, 7.1 adjusted net yards per attempt, would have ranked number 6 amongst qualifying quarterbacks in the NFL. He's a potentially positive option, but still has a lot to prove. But toss him in there in a Shanahan system with the 49ers weapons, with his former teammate in Carolina, Christian McCaffrey. Good things can happen for Sam Darnold too. Let him compete. That's the culture that you should build as a football team, and that's what the 49ers are doing as they try to stack this roster. All right, I'm going to go write more about the salary cap. We're in day 2. 49ers have almost no salary cap space left. They restructured Charvarius Ward to get to where they are at right now. They may have to restructure some more players to continue working. Updates will flow as they come. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and sub to The Athletic, where I talked Jake Brendel most recently, but we've got our roster builder and obviously the salary cap sheet, all that good stuff up there. So time for you to rush off, do that, and hit the subscribe button on this video. I will talk to you all very soon. Take care.